Welcome to
Hi, Carol.
Hey,
Hi,
Carol.
Carol.
Hi, Carol. Hi, Carol.
Hi, Carol.
Hi, Carol.
Hi, Carol.
Hi, Carol.
Hi, Carol.
Hi,
Hi,
Carol,
Carol.
a double P podcast about Apple TV Plus's show Pluribus. My name is Catfish, and with me, as always, is someone who, after every time we record a podcast, tells me, do better next time. It's Bubba.
Catfish, you and I, and our listener,
The two
the
of us.
person hearing our voice, the
three of
third
us.
member of the Clue Crew, we are debating the big question. We are talking pluribus and what is going on. And specifically, after this episode really focused on the struggles that two of our characters are going through, we are really going to focus on what we've learned about Carol.
Oh, okay, great. I love it. Well, Bubba, as we all know, just a quick reminder, this is episode 7, Fall into the Gap.
The gap.
Manousos, our super spicy Manousos, begins a dangerous trek to meet Carol. Returning home from Las Vegas, Carol gets creative with her rebellion. Bubba,
Yeah.
we always start off with this, something we tell people to completely ignore, but let's do it anyway. Bubba, what was your rating for episode 7, The Gap?
Hi, Carol. Hi, Carol.
Catfish,
Hi,
are you
Carol. Hi,
destroying
Carol.
my notes? Where's my note about Alan Sepinwall calling this episode, episode 7,
Okay.
his favorite of Pluribus season 1? And he's seen all the episodes in season 1. He
What?
said this was his favorite. This
This
is
is it.
renowned television critic Alan Sepinwall. I had it right in my notes, and somebody by the name of Catfish deleted it. I can't believe it.
So you're telling me it only goes down from here?
Apparently. So for episode 7, I am going to give it, sure enough, 7 double Fs out of 10.
Double Fs?
Fireworks factories. Carol put on a show. She took us to the firework factory, literally, and yet it was a tough, tough journey that I believe Vince Gilligan and all the writers, they're going to say we needed Carol to go on this. We needed Carol to do it. Now, you listen to us, maybe not so much for insight, but hopefully an entertaining discussion. But did you know that the joined, the Hive Mind, the others, they all left Carol on day 8. By day 48, Carol is painting in the cul-de-sac, come back. So Carol was alone for pretty much for 40 days. The number 40 shows up in the Bible an awful lot. 40 days and nights of rain for Noah. You had Moses on Mount Sinai, 40 days. The Israelites, 40 years in the wilderness. So sure enough, we had 40 days before Carol broke.
Are you
Now-
sure there's not more than, maybe there's only one number in the Bible?
No, there's only one. From the book of Jacob, chapter 40. But what I'm saying, Catfish, is that Carol and our other character, Manousos, they had to go through it. And sure enough, it felt like the show was making us go through it. So there were a lot of moments I enjoyed, a lot of moments where I was struggling with the loneliness. I was struggling with get on with it, where I'm like, okay, I'll have a second screen experience where I check my phone to see if I have any messages because I can't take this just kind of rough, depressing thing that our two main characters are going through. So 7 out of 10. I hope it picks up for me. I hope I'm not like Alan Sepinwall and says this is my favorite episode. That's my thoughts. What are your thoughts?
Well, Bubba, I am going to give this episode 9.5 double E's.
Double E's.
Yeah, that's what our boy Manousos is going through. English immersion.
You studied English as well as he did. That's good.
Bubba,
Yeah.
I
9.5.
understand
Wow.
9.5. Bubba,
Yeah.
I have been standing for Carol this whole time. I was saying she's irascible. She hates other people. She's not that much fun, but she's got a point when it comes to the hive mind. But
Okay.
Bubba,
Yeah.
I fully fell in love with Carol this episode first
Whoa.
because she was making the hive mind her stone cold bee. She was making him do everything and she was having a great time doing it. And then when she couldn't take it anymore and fell into Zosia's arms, that was very emotional and a breakthrough and a change for her, which is
Wow.
kind of what again, this whole time I've been a little bit like it's slow just because we're seeing the same things. Carol's not really growing. Somebody told me she was having character development. I didn't see any. But in this episode, she goes through two different character changes. One, she's like, F it, I'm going to have fun. And then two, she breaks and is no longer able to maintain that distance between her and the world. She realizes she needs someone else. So I fully fell in love with Carol. And on top of that,
Yeah.
Manousos, extra spicy Manousos, and the writers spoke for me hard and also much more briefly than I have been saying it when Manousos said to the hive mind, nothing on this planet is yours. Nothing. You cannot give me anything because all that you have is stolen.
Ooh.
You don't belong here. Bubba,
Yeah.
I wanted to stand up and cheer. I just wanted to like, hell yes, ditto everything. And also, what I love is what this has set up. Okay, so we were hoping for Manousos and Carol to get together, right? But now that Carol has given in and Manousos is going to see her, now she has a real decision to make between Zosia and the hive mind and Manousos. So this episode really did a lot to sort of spice things up a little bit. We're going to see how she reacts to that. Now, the reason I only get a 9.5, two nitpicks for it. Why didn't she just call them at the end as she has been? Bubba, they did that completely for the plot, for the reveal. Number two, why wasn't this episode called Hello Dolly? Because Carol sings so much. Oh, that is a 50-year-old reference to Hello Dolly. Bubba, we are really bringing in the younger crew. All right, I had to talk so much because to me, you know what? Without having seen the rest of the episodes, Alan Steppenwall agrees with me. This is my favorite episode of the season. It did so much. But we say, who cares what we think? We want to hear what you think. We want to hear why the listeners agree with me that this was a great episode and are looking at Bubba 7 and saying he needs to be absorbed into the hive mind. So
No
please
way.
hit us up. Hit us up. Hello at Double P Media. Hit us up on Instagram. Hit us up on X. Hit us up on Blue Sky. Everything at Double PHQ. That's the word double, the letters P, H, and Q. And also,
Yeah.
boom, comment below. Comment on Spotify. Somebody commented on Spotify this week. They just said, hi, Catfish, hi, Catfish, hi, Catfish.
Well,
Hello. All right, Bubba.
well,
What else do you have to talk about? Yeah.
well, I know what we got to talk about.
Tell me.
You have aged this podcast so much, bringing up Hello Dolly. I've got to bring in the younger crowd. So I am changing my rating. I'm not going to give this 7 out of 10. I'm going to give it 6, 7.
Hi, Carol. Hi, Carol.
Oh,
Hi, Carol.
Hi, Carol.
There you go. Mr. Gray Hair brings in the seniors. I'm bringing in my fellow Gen Zers. Let's do this.
I love it. All right, Bubba. Listen,
Yeah.
I don't know. You had a lot of big questions you were putting together, trying to figure it out. I think I have the question that I want to ask here.
Let's hear it.
Is Carol now more appreciative of other people, other beings, in a way that she wouldn't have been if the hive mind had never taken over?
You are 100% correct. If she hadn't been so lonely, she may not have had this inner realization of how much she does care about everybody else. This is what's so fascinating in some ways about Carol. She is a writer. Why is she writing? She's not writing for herself. She's writing for others to read and enjoy. What does she talk about with Helen? Did people like the books? What did they review? Hey, is my book up high? She cares about what other people think about her. And the fact that she made it 40 days, I personally think that's incredible. I think there is a real question if this joining, as sometimes I call it, if this hive mind hadn't happened, would Carol ever have come to this realization and ever really had a chance to be truly content and happy with her life? So that's my question to you. What do you think?
I think the answer is yes. It's easy to say to yourself, I don't need other people. I don't need to interact with other people when they're around and you're not really given the choice to see what it's like. I mean, there are people I know who sit in their home and they grumble and they don't want to go out and they don't want to go to their families and they just don't like people. They hate people.
Wait, what
Well, they don't.
is she single? Is she single? What's give me your idea?
Hi, Carol. Hi, Carol.
Hi, Carol. Hi, Carol.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
He is single
Oh
and he's
no.
sitting across from me. So
Listen, kick these people out. We're having a podcast. It's you and me. We don't have live spectators. Our
you're
listeners
right.
are the
I'm not
third
talking
member.
about you at all,
Okay,
for sure.
good.
So
Thank you.
I completely agree that she would have been able to sort of hold people at length, not give in and show sort of weakness and need with people around that she could like grab just little bits of attention from without kind of lowering her wall.
So this gets me to kind of my own question. This is
Yeah.
a big question about Carol's character, and this is people tell us so much this is a character study. Let's go into imaginary world. Let's say
Okay.
Helen had joined with the hive mind, but she hadn't passed away then. So, in other words, Carol was more like in a situation that the woman whose child survived and child joined the hive mind. How does that change the Carol we know? Like, would Carol be more like that character, or would Carol be like, "No, this is terrible. give me back the Helen I fell in love with."
That is a great question, and I think one that our listeners would disagree on. So I hope we get feedback on that. For me, the real question is, would she go Helen or Zosia?
Oh, wow. Wow. I would have a hard time seeing if she wasn't forced to open up to Zosia, her not staying with Helen. What do you think? Great question.
I mean, in the end, it just depends on whether if you really realize they're all the same person. eh,
Yeah. If forget, let's go back to the pre-joined world, the pre-hive
okay,
mind world. If you sat Carol down on a psychiatrist's couch or a therapist's couch,
right.
what do you think they would diagnose Carol with? Like, what would they say, Carol, you're here because you're unhappy with A, B, and C. What was Carol really unhappy with?
Oh, this is really killing me, Bubba, because I'm going to show my age
Oh
because I
no.
used to be a wordsmith, and now the word that I can't remember is kind of a hater of mankind.
All right.
Hater of mankind, Bubba. And there's got to be a word for that, which I'm looking for right now. Misanthrope. That's
Oh
right,
wow.
misanthrope. I had to look it up.
Dang.
Yes, it's someone who this is dislikes, distrusts, or has contempt for humanity, often avoiding people and social situations. They have gone to great lengths to show that she is a misanthrope.
And do you have any idea? Maybe you could Google it right now. How do you cure somebody of being a misanthrope, or not cure, but what do you mean? Like I'm
Oof,
saying, how do you get them
oof.
to kind of open up their world or their worldview?
Wow, that is a great question.
I know one way I would cure somebody of this.
How?
Well, I would encourage them to leave comments on YouTube. I'd encourage them to reach out and follow us on social media at WPHQ because there's no way that you can hate mankind after interacting with the two of
Hi,
us.
Carol. Hi, Carol.
Hi,
Well,
hi,
Bubba,
Carol.
here now
Yeah.
you're asking it says minimize contact with negative and toxic people,
Mhm.
like people who give sevens for episode 7 of The Gap or 6-7.
Oh, come on. Listeners, we do want to talk to you. You guys know you give us the best feedback. We love the
True.
best feedback. We read all of it, and we're going to read a whole bunch on tonight's podcast. But thank you so much, and let us know your thoughts about Carol. The one thing why I am giving it the 6-7 catfish is
Yeah.
because I knew Carol. I thought I knew Carol well enough that I knew she would break. There was no way Carol, the Carol that I've watched over the previous episodes, was going to be fine living, the rest of her life in complete solitude. There was no way that Carol was. So to me, I
Okay.
guess I was waiting for it just like the show was.
The only people who disagree with you are me and your favorite critic, Alan Sepinwall.
That's true. And he will replace you on the podcast
Hi,
next week.
Carol. Hi, Carol.
Hi, Carol. Hi, Carol.
If
Hi,
only
Carol.
you could afford them. All right, Bubba.
You
We got
ready?
some feedback. Yeah, go for
So
it.
last week, one of us was open to new things, and Catfish was a misanthrope, where I was like, would you drink HDP? And Catfish is like, no, I don't like new things. Well, we got a truly great loyal listener,
Uh-huh.
Shirley, who wrote us with the feedback, I would not drink HDP with an exclamation point. And
More
so
for you, Bubba.
so let me say, this is the holiday season, and
Hmm.
you go to a lot of these Christmas pop-up bars,
Got
and
it.
what
Got
you're going to
it.
see is all
Christmas
these,
pop-up bar?
yes, old man, get out and enjoy your life. They're all over town. Like go look around.
Sure, sure. Those are just people inviting you into their house.
Right. They say, hey, look at this Christmas pop-up bar. Wait, what am I doing here? Why am I raking this lawn? No, but seriously, I was thinking if at your holiday party
Uh-huh.
you want to impress everybody, you
Right?
should make them an HDP and let them drink it. And so the question would be, well, how do you make HDP?
We
What do we
don't.
know the main ingredient of HDP is? People. So I was thinking, what would be in an HDP? Well, obviously, you mix in a little Tom Collins, you mix in some Shirley Temple, some Dr. Pepper, some Arnold Palmer, and Jack Daniels, and you get a delicious HDP.
Hi, Carol. Hi, Carol.
Hi, Carol. Hi, Carol. Hi, Carol.
That hits the spot. So
Wow.
try it at your holiday party. A delicious HDP.
All right.
HDP is
Hi,
people.
Carol. Hi, Carol.
Hi, Carol.
All right, Bubba.
Hi, Carol.
Let's do some rapid fire
Oh
questions,
yeah,
shall we?
okay.
We'll
All
mix
right.
it up a little bit.
Sure.
All right, my first question to you is, what was the best activity Carol did with her time alone? I mean, we saw her golfing
Yeah.
on the course. We saw her golfing in other places. We saw her having a fabulous dinner
Yeah, that
at a
looked good.
restaurant, smashing office windows, spa day, fireworks show, taking the Rolls Royce, or stealing great art from museums and putting up on her wall. Bubba, what would you say was the best activity, however you describe best?
I love me and a good spa day. So, Carol, take me to that spa. Spend the rest of your time there. That was incredible. That's my thought. What did you think Carol's best activity in her 40-day journey was?
Here's the only thing is that I feel like that kind of didn't follow through in the episode with what she was doing. Because if she wanted something, she told those guys to do it. So I would have had them set up the fireworks show and do the music so I
There
didn't have
you
to do
go.
any of it.
Okay.
I would have them figure out, I don't know, when I went to a spa recently, they had robot masseuse. So
Oh, wow.
set it all up. I'm with you. I don't I never have a problem with a good spa day. A little contrast therapy, a little float. The whole thing is just magnificent.
Listeners, what did you think the best activity Carol did on her 40 days alone was? Catfish, rapid fire for you. Carol went, as I keep pointing out, she went 40 days by herself before she broke. How long do you think you could go?
I mean, when you say broke, oh boy,
How
I've got
long would it
to.
be before you would paint on the street, come back?
I consider myself a touch misanthropic, but not as bad as her. I would say maybe 6 days. What about you?
I think maybe after even 3 days, I'd be bored to tears, maybe, but that's it. 3 days. 3 days that I'm like, okay, where is everybody? Where's my Gatorade? Let's go.
I love it. Oh, now, Bubba, I've got another quick question for you.
Sure.
Manousos, we see the old-fashioned map traveling. He hits the ocean, and then he keeps going, Bubba. Why did he take a boat? He's gonna go through this horrible swamp.
Yeah,
Don't they
this
have boats anywhere? Does he not have enough money to put on the dashboard, to put on the dock, to borrow the boat?
Jake, a
What's his
boat.
plan here?
No, this is they call it, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, the Darien Gap. It's a roadless jungle swamp on the Panama Colombia border. And, that's the only land connection between South America and Central America. And so when you watch some of those shows, like doesn't Apple TV have a show where Ewan McGregor takes a motorcycle from the bottom of South America to the Arctic, and even he was like, "No, there's no place to take my motorcycle, so we'll put my motorcycle on a boat." Why didn't he take a boat? What is with him, man? Just like everybody, just like Carol, just like the hive mind about how we're not going to pick apples. Manousos, he's going to do it his way and only his way, and in this case, nearly killed him. Right? Holy smokes! What would you do? Would you
I
take a boat?
completely appreciate his dedication to the cause. um, I would be more like Carol. Listen, you guys are complete assholes, and I'm trying to figure out how to get rid of you. But a little help here?
Hi, Carol. Hi, Carol.
Hi, Carol. Hi, Carol. Hi, Carol. Hi, Carol.
So good. Okay, well, hey, let's get to our normal segments. We got to bust through this super
Beautiful. Let's do it.
in-depth thing, and that is Catfish. We always ask, which Twilight Zone episode did this episode, episode 7, remind you of? Get inspired by? Have an interesting parallel to? And believe it or not, we've always invited our listeners, and we had 3 listeners comment on it. Some were just saying simple things, like our good friend Carolyn Johnson, who's at Caro Joso on social media a lot of times. She said,
Hi, Carol.
She wrote, I really enjoyed that you both went outside the box and pulled from other pop culture references for the Twilight Zone episode segment. Oh, thank you so much.
The Hangover, the best.
The greatest episode ever.
Alex Aria says, I also love the Twilight Zone segment and your rating system. Very amusing.
And our good buddy Bill Cava reached out on Threads. Once again, that's at double PHQ on Threads, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky. Bill wrote, this episode, this one we just saw, episode 7, reminded him of the Twilight Zone season 1, episode 1, Where is Everybody? A psychological test of isolation looks to crack an Air Force pilot training for a flight to outer space. And Catfish, haven't you thought of that before?
I did. I believe I did that for our very first 2 episodes. Bubba, sometimes I have struggled a little bit, but I found a great one tonight. Season 2, episode 27, yes, of the Twilight Zone this week, called The Mind and the Matter. Bubba, if I'd only read this more carefully, I would have come up with that term. A misanthropic man named Archibald Beechcroft wishes he could use sheer mental power to eliminate the irritations of other people. He succeeds in making the entire population vanish, only to discover that total solitude is unbearable. He then repopulates the world with copies of himself, only to find that he annoys himself even more than others ever did. And the closing statement.
Let's hear it.
Mr. Archibald Beechcroft, a child of the 20th century, who has found out through trial and error, and mostly error, that with all its faults, it may well be that this is the best of all possible worlds. People notwithstanding, it has much to offer. So I thought this was a great parallel to tonight's episode when you find out what it is really like to be without people.
Oh, a great, perfect parallel, Catfish. Who?
And yours, Bubba, is it going to be Hangover too?
Catfish, no. I'm going back to the Twilight Zone season 8, episode 2, The Hangover. Now, in that movie, you see them racing back from Vegas. Spoiler alert. They're racing back from Vegas, and this car pulls up alongside them and starts throwing out tuxedos because they need tuxedos for this thing they're going to. And so it's identical to this episode where Manousos is just going down the street, and this person pulls up next to him and is like, hey, you need some water? You need this? You need a ride? It was like a carbon copy of that original Twilight Zone episode.
Hi, Carol.
Hi, Carol.
You're
Hi,
exactly
Carol.
right,
Hi, Carol.
Bubba. I don't
Hi,
know why I
Carol.
ever questioned you. All right, let's move quickly to segment 3. You gotta laugh. We need some levity here.
Yeah.
Bubba, I found very few points of levity in this one. I mean, again, I enjoyed it so much because Carol was having fun. I enjoyed Manousos constantly slamming the door on the hive mind. I did like when the guy in the truck said, give me a chuckle when he said there's a scenic viewpoint up ahead that
was
is
great.
particularly breathtaking. I noticed in the last scene, you only see it behind Carol, that the license plate of the car she's taken says Ace, baby. And then again, what Manousos said, nothing
Mm.
on this planet is yours. It did not make me laugh, but it made me insanely joyous, Bubba. Bubba, you always go off the board, and I've got to hand it to you. You always get it right. So, what are you going to pick this week?
Well, this week I'm picking the original Twilight Zone season 8 episode. No, I didn't really laugh once in this episode, Catfish. I think everything you mentioned was perfect. I smiled when the guy in the car came up and talked about, "Oh, look at this great viewpoint you're going to get at the top." But this was about making our characters, go through hell and come out the other side. And so there weren't many laughs for me.
Hi,
All right.
Carol. Hi,
I agree
Carol.
with it. Well, since
Hi,
there
Carol.
also
Hi, Carol.
haven't been very many laughs so far for our listeners, let's go right into the episode recap.
Okay, so Catfish, the one thing you've got to give to the wonderful hive mind, you're always so tough on them.
Yep.
Carol, this gas station she pulls up to looks like it is in the absolute middle of nowhere. Yet they have the electrical grid so tightly perfect that when she says, "Hey, I need you to turn on this bump," they can get that thing back up and running. The electricity on that part of the grid up so quickly, it was incredible. So I got to tip my cap to them. Good job, guys.
Now, one thing I have to say about them doing this again, sort of the slowness of this, we hear the whole message again, etc., because things are sort of deliberate. It gave me time to think, and it would have been interesting to see how Carol would have reacted if they'd been like, "No thanks." And so she's stuck in the middle of nowhere. So it did
Yeah.
give me an opportunity to think about. Did that occur to you as you were watching
No,
as well?
it totally did. Before she even got to the gas station, I kind of wondered, well, what would happen to her if she ran out of gas? Is the hive mind keeping the cell towers up and running so that they can always contact her? I assume they are, but great question.
All right, well, she's got some real good stuff here, Bubba. She's got lottery tickets. Oh my God. And she calls back and asks for a Gatorade.
Man.
Bubba,
Yeah.
ice cold Gatorade. And this is where, and she packs her stuff with the fireworks. The Gatorade gets dropped off. She tastes it. And this is where I'm just like, you go, girl. She was like, "I didn't ask for a tepid one. I didn't ask for a warm one. I didn't ask for a cold one. Ice cold." And Bubba, in that moment, she was ice cold.
Oh, let me tell you something. I once again, I'm always on the other side. I'm thinking from the hive mind's perspective. How the hell are we going to do this so that when we put it in the drone, it gets there ice cold? Like, do we freeze it? And then once it's across this desert air, it'll melt well enough? I mean, I felt bad for him.
I did not.
I wanted them to like send her a Powerade and then for her to really get PO'd. I said a Gatorade. Yeah,
Right, the Powerade with a note that says, "Suck it, Carol."
no, Catfish.
A sugar-free Powerade.
Right, exactly, the worst. Now we're only 12 days. This is still 12 days. This is hard for us. People, if you have binged this and you're watching our podcast in the future, let us know if you were able, like if you can really tell what a compact period of time this is before we do our big jump later. It's only 12 days after all of this went off. One of my big notes, and this was true in every instance, but once she gets home and she's out howling to the wolves she hears howling, to me, it's just like Carol is so lonely, man. Lonely.
She certainly is. Well, I mean, you say she's lonely, but she's got a bunny for a friend,
Yeah.
a buffalo from a friend. And once again, Bubba,
Yeah.
this is in that shot of her driving away from the buffalo. It's just like the shot they did in the first episode where she's driving away, and I expected Helen to get up. I was waiting for that buffalo to charge her ass.
Oh, yes, please. That would have been wonderful. And of course, once again, I'm always thinking from the hive mind. I thought it's been 12 days at least since the joined took over. Are they still watering this golf course? How is the grass still green? If you're in the middle of, a very hot desert area
I mean,
like Albuquerque.
I assume they are still watering the grass. They're
okay.
keeping things around for her. That's my only explanation. Now, that doesn't explain, as you've noted here in the notes, so maybe I'm just covering for the writers. She takes a just married car with the helium balloons that are still inflated.
Yeah, this is incredible.
I don't know about you, but the very next day that I get helium balloons, they are already like 6 inches off the ground.
They're so sad. It's like happy
Yes,
birthday.
yes, yeah.
So she goes to a museum. What art would you steal? Now, I assume most people who listen to this very educated podcast know George O'Keeffe. Would you steal anything? What would you steal?
Oh man. I would take some Paul Klee.
Mm,
I love the Paul Klee or some abstract art. Just put
yes,
it all up. I mean, Bubba, I don't know, maybe I don't know why she's staying in her house. Aren't there
great
some
question.
new modern houses in her neighborhood where somebody just put up a box with a pull in the back? I'd go there.
But isn't that more our boy Diabate's? Isn't that his scene? Isn't that his scene to go, I want to live in a palace? And so
Well,
Carol
you're right,
does.
because I'm kind of a mix of Carol and
Okay.
Diabate, where F them, but also while you're around, give me the good life.
She calls them up, talks about how she wants to go to this fancy restaurant. They are bringing together great meals that she had. Carol is once again, I mean, now I think it's, 13 days, 14 days after it. She's constantly being reminded of her love of her life, Helen, and her time with Helen. And in some ways, I think that's nice. In other ways, that is naturally going to, make you sad to think about this person you lost. Even if you start up the awesome automated piano playing great tunes, that's going to depress you, man.
Man, I didn't know they had one of those things. If they can have that
No,
automated piano playing great tunes, why can't we have the robot masseuses?
let's get in here for goodness sake. Now, one question I wrote, and I'm trying to be kind with this, but some of Carol's loneliness, this, hey, I'm going to throw a fireworks party for myself. At times, I'm just being honest, feel free to attack me, listeners. At times I thought, is this pathetic? Is it kind of pathetic that, hey, you can do anything you want in the world and you're going to give yourself some gas station fireworks show every night? It feels, I just couldn't connect with it. And I thought, is this our way of saying that Carol is really defeated? Like, okay, I'll just do this. She's becoming a waste. What did you think?
I feel like this is sort of, first she's like, guys, give me everything.
Yeah,
And then in this section here, she's doing things for herself. So this is what she can do, the kind of fun that she can have without them. And it's sort of just kind of like biding time, doing ridiculous stuff. So I don't think it's pathetic in that she's not doing more grandiose things like Diabate is. I think it's pathetic because it's sad that she's trying to do things to fill her life when that's not really what she needs.
okay.
So I think in the less sort of kind of accusatory and derogatory version of pathetic, it is literally pathetic, sad because she's trying to fill a hole with something that's not really going to satisfy her.
Listeners, let's hear you. We're always talking about Carol because she's the main character and because we have so few other characters in the show. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you would have done if you were Carol on this 40-day sabbatical. Please let us know. Catfish, it is
Well, but
time.
we do have another character,
Wait,
and that
who?
is our boy Manousos. Oh my God, it is so cool. And we see Manousos, we had seen him in the first episodes, taking food from places, leaving notes, leaving money,
Yes,
and
leaving
this
money.
sucker is still, I'm not quite sure what he thinks. He perhaps believes even more than I do that things are going to return back to normal. And what? He's going to make sure people are not upset with him. Like, I mean, we were talking about a moral code last week. He's got one that is really restricting his abilities here. He's leaving money. Presumably that's all his money. He can't be taking money from anywhere else unless he's
No.
leaving a note. I'm leaving this for your money. He's siphoning gas, which
Oh
is
my gosh.
gross.
Yuck.
He's taken that car of his, which they think he loves. I think he's just like, no, it's not that I love it. It's that it's my car. I can't take anybody else's car.
Would you say that if he is accusing the others of having stolen everything, that's one way to keep his independence and show that he's better than them? He won't steal. He will leave money. He will leave a note.
Huh.
Again, this is brutal. What he's doing, I think, in some ways, is even crazy to do on your own. But that's
Absolutely.
that's how strong his belief is, and
But
so
you know what else he's doing on his own is he's learning English from a tape set. And this is great because as we see throughout the episode, he's learning it more and more. And this guy's dedication is amazing, but not as amazing as the dedication of the Hive, who
no,
creepily keeps showing up. We talked already about the guy who is very friendly, offers him water, doesn't want him to get dehydrated.
no.
They're lined up in towns when they see him. It's very, very creepy. He just gives himself a haircut. He's catching fish, little tiny fish.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness. And then they are waiting for him. I was wondering why he was there. And they're like, this is a bad idea. And I'm like, what is a bad idea? And they're like, oh, you're going to hike through here.
Oh my
Wow, that is
Lord.
something.
Oh
And
my
then
Lord. Oh my
again,
Lord.
Manousos, he is such a badass. They're like, look, we'll help you transport your car because we know you love it. He's
Yeah.
like, oh, let me show you. I'm just gonna burn this thing. F you all. And then Bubba, he is hiking and he,
Hold on, hold on, hold on. I want to go
yeah,
to the
tell me.
hive mind here because
Okay.
you are always so hateful of the hive mind, my people.
Yep.
And
Hmm.
they are like, who do they remind you of, Catfish? You're about to go on a hike through a jungle. Who do they act like? They act like your mom. Duh, take an umbrella. It's gonna rain. Be careful of the snakes. Ooh, the plants are dangerous. You could get infected. Mom always warns you about all the dangers. I don't know about, I've met your mother plenty of times, but I've
Yep.
also had that, my mom, literally, I'd be like, well, mom, I'm going to go, listen to the radio and do, in my room. And she'd say, when I knew somebody who listened to the radio when I was a kid and they died. And you're like, what? She was like, yeah, the antenna of the radio accidentally went up their nose and hit their brain and they died. Like my mom knows somebody who's died from everything. If you're like, oh, mom, I'm gonna go to the store. I know somebody who was hit by a car walking to the store. Like, so the hive mind reminded me of my mother, and I will never hate them. Love
Okay,
you,
well, the
mom.
hive
Happy
mind
Mother's
doesn't
Day.
remind of his mom because his mom,
All
as he
right.
said, is a stone cold bee.
Hey, don't go me.
Listen, there is a part of his, clearly, there is a part of his dedication and steadfastness
Hmm.
that is sort of bordering on insanity and
Yes.
impracticality.
Yes.
Impracticality, which kind of makes me wonder, like, we never saw him in the before times. Did people like him? Was he happy? Like, I'm
Whoa.
curious what he was like and how this has changed him, if at all. Because we talk about the sort of how up to at least this episode, Carol's sort of personality was the same before and afterwards.
Hmm.
But Manousos is he lights his car on fire. He goes on this trail, and Bubba, I mean, it is as advertised. I kind of thought he was going to make it,
Oh no, are
but
you crazy?
I did. I thought he was going to make it.
There's no way. I thought there was no way he could make it. In all those trees, like how many trees do you have to point that look like frigging torture devices?
Amazing.
Oh
Well,
my
Bubba,
God.
he's got his Inigo Montoya moment because he
Yes.
repeats over and over again, my name is Manousos Oviedo. I am not one of them. I wish to save the world.
Hell yeah.
Love it. Love it. He is awesome. So, Bubba, I don't know if you've ever seen, there is an amazing movie called Revenge where something horrible happens with a woman and she gets horrible revenge on these fools. But she goes through probably even worse than what Manousos has gone through and also does a bit of self-healing. Bubba, he is taking care of business.
Would you, I mean,
Yeah.
this guy, I mean, at a
Hmm.
certain point, when you are literally, scalding your own wounds to close the open pores of your back. Oh my God. You thought Game of Thrones was gross. This is some gross body horror that he is doing to himself just so he doesn't have to deal with other people.
Bubba, let me be completely clear about this. I would have been, maybe would have been with Manousos right up to the point where I went about 15 feet into the jungle, and then I would have been like, hey guys, you're right. You were completely right.
They tried to tempt him. Do you think they should have used Gatorade?
Hi, Carol.
Hi, Carol.
Hi, Carol.
Only
Hi,
if it
Carol.
was
Hi, Carol.
ice
Ice
Carol.
cold.
cold.
All right, so Bubba, this he does Manousos heal thyself that does not work.
Oh my God.
So he is lost and he is passing out, and as he is passing out, he sees a helicopter coming to get him. So we know things are changing for Manousos as well. Let's see how he reacts to being saved by these guys.
Do you think he'll react positively or negatively to being rescued by these evil people who he thinks have stolen the earth?
He seems very stubborn, and I
Yeah.
don't think this is going to change his position much.
100%.
That's my point of view.
No, I completely agree. I think you're exactly right there. Let's jump back to Carol and we get to these 48 days later. And once again, 40 days by herself. She's smashing windows in the office tower. She is literally playing Russian roulette with with her firework. It
Well, it's not that. I think it
Oh
just
my
kind of
God.
fell, right? But
it
it was
fell,
pointed
but
right
she
at
didn't
her.
move. She didn't
Right.
move.
So she's like, take me. Yeah.
Oh my God. And what about
And
your neighbor? What about your neighbor's house who you've destroyed?
hey, you know what? I've got some neighbors I wouldn't mind if that happened to.
This is gonna be called
What about you, Bubba?
let them burn. No.
Let it burn. You only
Okay.
have one neighbor on your side anyway.
Right.
The other
Well,
side
no,
is.
that is a neighbor. Admittedly, it's woods before you get to their house.
Oh,
But yeah.
okay. All right. All right. But look, no, Bubba, she's got this handled. She pulls out the hose.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
So then we see her go get a paint and a roller. And of course, as I said, the only reason that she would do this, go through all this work, instead of just picking up the phone, is to have the reveal at the end.
Incredible.
And it is
Incredible.
Zosia and Carol. I don't even know if you could describe this as a hug. She clings to her in desperation and
Yes.
joy, pretty much.
Hi, Carol.
Hi, Carol.
All right, Bubba, well, that was
Hi,
it. That
Carol.
was
Hi,
the
Carol.
episode.
Hi, Carol.
Let's
Yeah,
talk about
to
it.
me.
There are only 2 more episodes left in season
Oh my
1.
God.
We reached this point, like you said, you feel Carol has reached this kind of point and is changing and growing, or however you want to describe it, in her journey. What do you need to see in these final 2 episodes? Is Manousos going to be able to reach Carol? Or is that like the season finale is the last scene, he shows up and says, hi, Carol? Like, what do you need to see in these final 2?
Well, I would feel like this next episode might be the two of them kind of feeling comfortable with where they are, enjoying it. They're like, okay, this is life now, both of them. And then something happens at the end of the next episode where one or both of them are like kind of shaken out of their dream and are back to, we got to get together. They get together before the end of the last episode.
I agree, 100%.
All right.
Listeners, what do you need to see in those final 2 episodes?
Finally, you agree
Let
with
us
me
know.
and Alan Sepinwall. All right, so
No,
Bubba, segment
no.
4 is our skin suit of the week, the Hive MVP. Who is the skin suit of the week for you, Bubba?
I called it the dude in the pickup truck. Not only was he incredibly helpful, I thought he had a great voice. He had a great accent. I loved him. Pickup trick, dude. You earned your paycheck. Good work. Thanks
Now,
for helping
Bubba,
the hive mind. Yeah.
I want to disagree with you, but I can't.
thank
And this
God.
is for a very specific thing.
Okay.
Everyone has been happy, but sort of in a very plasticky, happy way.
Yeah.
But this guy is like realistically enthusiastic. He is the only member of the hive mind that I've ever liked and trusted. So I don't know whether they made a mistake and the director should have been like, no, more fake. He was so happy. I want to go drinking with that guy. If all the skin suit people were like him, Count me in.
You've come to our side. So you're saying you would stop at the scenic overlook. I love it.
I
Hive
would.
mind, hive
I'd
mind,
be like, let's go
hive.
together. Bring some ice cold cerveza.
Hi,
Let's do
Carol.
this.
Hi, Carol.
Hell, hell
Hi, Carol.
yeah.
Hi, Carol.
Listeners, who is your skin suit of the week? Catfish, we always ask the question, dun dun dun. Do
Yeah.
you want to live in the world of Pluribus or in the world of US, the United States 2025, December specifically? Where would you rather live? Based on episode 7, do you want to live there where Gatorade gets brought right to you, but it's tepid, or here in America where you have to go get the Gatorade and its temperature can be varied? Where do you want to live?
Well,
Pluribus or the US?
I hate golf, so I'm going to say this week I'd rather live in the US.
Oh, how could you? That's the only reason there's golf
Yeah,
here in the US now.
yeah, I know, but I'm not forced to do it out of boredom.
Mean, mean catfish,
All
how
right,
could
Bubba,
you?
what about yourself?
I don't want.
Pluribus or
You mean
US?
I got to get off the couch to get my own Gatorade? Hell no. Get me Gatorade.
All
Gatorade is
right.
thirsty for the
Hi,
da.
Carol.
All right,
Hi,
Bubba,
Carol.
we've got our
Hi, Carol. Hi,
most
Carol. Hi.
enthusiastically enjoyed part of the podcast, and that
Yes.
is feedback.
Hell
And
yeah.
Bubba, this is the first time this podcast, people give us great feedback, and there is so much of it that we apologize if we have cut some of your feedback down,
Yes.
if other people have mentioned it or just trimmed it a little bit. So we have done that with a few. Luckily, we've got some more time this week because we got snubbed by Patman this week. Um, so let's start reading the feedback. Bubba, do you want to describe delicious feedback we
We
got?
keep mentioning all our social media channels at Double PHQ. And a great loyal listener at Denny North on Twitter. We've always been talking about Mr. Diabate, aka Kumba, and how he is living it up. And we always say, hi, Carol, hi, Carol, hi, Carol. Denny sent us an image of a bunch of well dressed women, all looking very attractive, saying, hi, Kumba, love it.
And they're all shopping. So Kumba's getting exactly what he wants.
Right? He told them, get me some Gatorade. They went, got it. Hell yeah.
And elaborator use,
Yeah.
or no, I think that's it. Said, I hear Double P's voice, and all I see is the Arconia.
Hell
That
yeah.
is Bubba's voice only.
Oop. Yes. Thank you very much. Somebody, you have always been tough on the character. I mentioned her earlier, the character who has a child who is one of the joined, but she is not. That's a character named Lackme. We got this feedback from somebody with the user handle D Lackme, who said the name Lackme, the grumpy one. In my past life, I was a cat and I drank HDP milk. Heck yeah, Lackme. Join the hive mind, baby.
Oh my God. And Mr. Bill's Mafia at
Woo.
Revere Terry, somebody who knows about being part of the hive mind,
For
is that
sure.
it's slow because the producers think, oh, people like those slow, weird things at the beginning of Breaking Bad. Of course, those would last like a minute or two, and then there would be a tie-in at the end, not 10 minutes of it.
So I think what our good friend Terry is suggesting is remember in one of those Breaking Bad seasons, we saw the stuffed animal in the pool that was kind of a messed up stuffed animal, and you would see that shot. He's right, for only about 10 seconds. Here, we'd have a whole montage of the stuffed animal in the pool. Love that. Hey, we asked people what they thought of episode 4. Caro Josa, we mentioned her earlier. She said, well, while watching, we wondered if Diabate was close to joining because of his need to be intimate and please. That's a wonderful point.
His ability, because of his need to imitate and
Yeah,
please.
yeah, exactly.
Also be intimate, sorry.
If they don't have Carol request the joined to just put up a beep instead of the whole recording on the phone that she always has to listen to, Caroline said, I might scream. I
Now, this
know,
was smart. I didn't think about that. So good.
she says, I know it is annoying to Carol, but it's no low-key annoying to me, a viewer as well.
Only low key. Not for me. It is very high key, but clearly intentional, as one of our listeners will talk about later.
She gives episode 6 an 8 out of 10 double V's.
Double V's.
Vexing voice messages. She thought it was a solid episode showing different paths each survivor is taking.
All right, and Gen X Cat Mom at All Mod Cons and Blue
Yeah.
Sky gave season 1, episode 6, 9 out of 10 double V's.
Wait, double V's again?
Viva Las Vegas.
I love it, baby.
Finally, we get some character interaction. Carol is
Yeah.
out of her bubble, and Manousos is on the move.
Hell
We
yeah.
learned tons of info, and John Cena was perfect. Carol was relatable. Whoa.
You
And
guys
our
take care.
friend Shirley, who gave us some feedback earlier, said, I can't decide if these are just dumb aliens with a broken imperative or super smart aliens who designed a way to eliminate the planet population light years before they arrive.
Whoa.
I love Carol and Manousos, but I am
Oh,
partial to a cranky character.
oh.
Yes, people can accept cranky men more than cranky women, which we talked a little bit about on the last episode. These viewers are literally telling Carol to smile. Shirley goes on to say, China harvests collagen from death row prisoners.
Ooh.
Shirley heard.
Okay.
Funniest line, Shirley said, Catfish saying the FDA would still approve. Yes.
Hey, RFK Jr., the creepiest of the hive mind. Now, Alex said, I love your clash of opinions on the hive mind. And he means you and I clash, Catfish. He
Yes.
says, particularly, look what Alex wrote.
Misanthropic.
There you go. Though I don't consider myself super cynical, I think humanity has always been a net negative for Earth. So it is interesting to learn that this virus is so extreme as to completely remove humanity from the food chain. Wow.
Well, you would think they're trying to do that, but also they're still trying to live, right? So
You would think.
questioning. Now, Westerosi Whispers, that's
Ooh.
double W, said, question for you both. The first woman infected, who or what was she connected to? Because at that stage, there is no hive mind. About the pacing of this episode, it's hard to say you have a good pace when you have a 5 minute exposition dump via John Cena. However, it wasn't slow. This is a fascinating question, Bubba. I
Fascinating.
think just because she hasn't expanded yet, it could still be some sort of just mind seeking other minds and then absorbing them. But I still feel there's something larger going on here. So I think we'll find out more about this later. Now, Fly Purdue says, do you feel muscle cell die? That's the equivalent of a human death to the hive. That's right, death to the hive.
Wait, no, that's not what. Hold on.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Now, Oaken4 on YouTube wrote, you guys have a fun discussion. Well, thank you. I agree that loving everyone equally is the equivalent of loving nobody at all. Wow.
That's right. That's
You
right.
can't pick between people, back anyone up, support anyone's interests against anyone else's. More so, I don't think the pluribus can love.
Yeah,
They
I
are
agree.
all one mind. I'm also not convinced an insect model is what is being used. Now, that was something we talked about last week. We'll talk about it more in a
Right.
second. They continue, I think it's like a mixed metaphor, part cult, part AI. We haven't heard anything about a leader, a queen leader, even if the spoiled, uninfected people aren't demanding all that much in terms of resources compared to the global scale and value
Well,
structure of the
that
hive.
makes sense.
He agreed with you, Catfish, on the good place reference. In the end, all life harms some other life. Only purely ethical thing to do if your goal is to, quote, do no harm is to have never been born. Dang.
Whoa,
Whoa,
that
thank you,
is heavy.
Logan
Now,
4.
Wayne Rogers piped up on our discussion about whether the hive was moral or immoral.
Love this
And
thing.
Wayne goes a completely different direction, which I love.
Oh,
Wayne says the genetic violation of the human race is an amoral act.
whoa.
Full stop. Debating the moral character of the hive mind seems to be a moot point because the behavior of the joint is driven by a biological imperative. It would be like debating if breathing is moral or immoral.
Well,
We
hey, hey,
humans can't
hey.
imagine what it might be like to be a plant, a fish, or any type of life form, other life form. Hell, we don't understand what makes us a conscious, sentient being. Are the join truly happy? If we look at the gambling scene after Kumba leaves, the expression demeanor of the join changes dramatically. We see that and they don't look happy. Are they? Who knows? Wayne goes on to say, here's another question I have moving ahead. If Carol is able to reverse the joining, how many more people will die when that happens?
Oh, no.
Guessing if it is possible to take place simultaneously worldwide. Imagine an Uber driver performing brain surgery or the gal from TGI Fridays flying the jet when they become unjoined. Amazing, Wayne.
Thank
Wayne
you,
brings
Wayne.
the knowledge and then gives us a very frightening picture.
Way to diss TGI Fridays. How could he? Now,
All right,
Zombie
and Zombie
Italian.
Italian, go ahead. You can do it.
Well, you know how he begins. He begins Catfish with, Hi,
Hi,
Carol.
Carol.
He gives last week's episode 9 SWHs out of 10.
Oh yeah, SWHs?
Shrink wrapped heads.
Ah,
He thought that episode moved at a good pace. I thought so too. He said, since I'm chiming in after watching episode 7, though, I'm going to rate this most recent episode 7 DMs out of 10.
7 DMs.
Yeah, that's apparently determined Manousos. I refer to him as M and Captain Casanova, aka you know who, as D. M and D, hell yeah.
Kumba, all right.
I think D, and once again he's talking about Kumba here, Diabate, he said, I think D will come around. I think his journey will eventually mirror Carol's lonely journey, but it's going to take longer. He is still having too much fun. Plus, his refusal to become joined shows that he won't give up his ego. He won't allow his ego a death. This episode, he said, this episode 7, I believe, I did start to feel frustrated about M's story, Manousos' story. Okay, I get it. It's a long journey. It's hazardous. But now looking back, we learned so much about M. He's determined to be able to talk to Carol and save the world. Carol's story, though, he thought in this episode 7 was dry and drawn out. You tell me, did you not feel bored and frustrated watching Carol? I did. And then I realized that's how she feels. Well played, director. Hey, it was kind of a trick there by Zombie Delian. He said, as far as making new hive minders, I suppose they could use Diabate's donation from all his playmates to collect his stem cells and make a baby in a test tube. And that may be more potent since the baby would have both parents as immune. Might be an interesting twist. Side note, he says, all that talk about ants, he says he was talking about ants early on. He said the flying lady in the bonnet of the Rolls Royce gets meat suit of the week for him. And he chooses the current U.S. over Pluribus because he's playing in the sandbox as his own Captain Casanova. LOL.
All right, and Zombie Italian sent us a question, and my answer to him is the episode is called "Time Enough at Last" with Burgess Meredith. One of my favorite episodes of Twilight.
Heck yeah. Okay. So,
all right, we got some feedback on the hive starving.
Right on the morality.
Cam Shay 23, one of our old loyal listeners says, "Eat the apples, weirdos."
Get straight to the point, Camille. I love it. Greg wrote, fruitarians eat fruit because it doesn't kill the plant. The plant doesn't die and the seeds live too. I wonder if catering to the 12 people who are really alive is such a small percentage of the population who don't have much else to do for the next 10 years, except maybe building an antenna the size of Africa. Ooh, that's a good possible plotline, Greg.
All right, so Trouble Follows also agrees. Carol's right. They should just pick an effing apple. The fruit isn't alive at all.
Leonard wrote, fruit has evolved to be tasty and be eaten by animals to help it spread its seeds, and often evolves to either not be tasty or difficult to eat or even poisonous to the animals if the plant doesn't want to be eaten and it doesn't need its helps for seed spreading. So it seems to be moral to eat fruit, especially if you are helping cultivate the plant. I don't think the plant would care if we eat it, especially if we helped cultivate it. Wonderful point, Leonard.
I think all the talk about this, though, I did listen to a podcast about two brothers who were part of a family that was into chemtrails, whatever, and they kind of left the world and became fruitarians. And you need to eat more than fruit to be healthy.
Well, you got HTP.
Oh, that is true. A stress-free K says they are all one. Is that not the purpose of spirituality? To become one with the all-knowing, all-seeing entity in the clouds? But just because you reach this level of nirvana, that doesn't mean you are no longer you. You are just a better, more content, and happier you. Because you finally know peace and harmony. Which is why one would pick John Cena to teach you wrestling moves.
Hey, last week we talked about this theory out there about the hive mind queen. Malachi wrote in and said, a hive queen? God, I hope not. Especially how Star Trek ruined the Borg with a queen. Well, thank you, Malachi.
All right, and DV, who always gives us something great, said, I don't think there's a queen. However, Diabate is the king. Just a thought. Do you think the hive isn't only people, but also animals and maybe even plants? In the beginning, the virus was transmitted from rat to human. The coyotes are also very interested in eating dead people. And now the refusal to eat anything alive seems to indicate that maybe they can't eat themselves. If they're alive? Wow, I don't know if this virus, that is a fascinating question to ask.
And we will keep asking it, and we'll ask you for your feedback on that question, listeners. Remember, it's at double PHQ, word double single letter P for podcast, HQ for headquarters on all social media. If you're on YouTube, we really need you to like, subscribe, go down in the comments, and join this incredible discussion we have every week.
And my name is Catfish. Can you hit me up at G to the man on Instagram and Blue Sky? Bubba, you can hit him up at Fit and Trim. That's FITTENTRIM on all social medias.
Hell
He
yeah.
spans the globe. And next week, episode 8, Charm Offensive. Carol takes a different tack with the others and discovers more than she anticipated. Manousos awakens in unfamiliar surroundings, and we will cover all that next week on Hi, Carol.
Hi, Carol. Hi, Carol. Hi, Carol.
See, I'm giving a creepy smile.
Carol.
Always.